I wasn't going to make a video today, but I got motivated to talk about this concept of sharpening the saw, so video it is. Alright, I think if I wait a moment, I'll get a nice helpful headwind to get off the ground. I love that. I'm way up for one turn around the house. Nice. All right, sharpening the saw. Let's talk. So, years ago, decades ago actually, I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Cool. And one of those habits is sharpening the saw. And somehow it got in my head recently. The anecdote he tells is this. You've got this lumberjack, right? He's sawing and he's sawing and he's sawing. He's working on this tree. He's not making the kind of progress that he needs to. But he keeps trying and he puts more effort into it. It's for no lack of effort. This guy is just not getting through this tree. So a regular person comes up to him and says, hey, why don't you sharpen that saw? And he says, man, I'd love to, but I'm too busy. I've got to get this tree down. Not realizing, of course, that if you were to sharpen the saw, it would pay off, right? It's a little investment of time to make you better at something. It's often told in corporate circles, that anecdote, as an argument for training, right? Like, all right, we've got these guys, they're busting their butts trying to do their job, but if we gave them some training, maybe how to organize their time, maybe how to do their actual job, maybe who knows what, that they'd be better at it. And while it might seem the cost of the training and the loss of productivity while they're there isn't worth it, it is. It usually is. And it's made me think about the standard for instruction in paramotors. There is no, there are certifications for paramotor instructors, right? I think it's USPPA probably, and you go through them and you get your paramotor instructor certification, and now you are certified as a paramotor instructor. Cool. But it's not a mandatory certification. So some people argue that there is no certification for it, whatever. You can just hang a shingle and start teaching people. It's made me think, what do I think a paramotor instructor should be doing? How good should they be? And I like to see them USPPA certified. I think that organization has done a lot of good things for the sport, and I give them my thumbs up. I love it. But I don't know that it stops there. I think that the industry standard in paramotoring instruction is a little lower than it would be if I were king. If I were king, then every paramotor instructor would have taken an SIV course. Do you need to be an expert on stalls and such, to teach someone to learn to launch? I think it's debatable, but I would argue yes. I would argue that if you're going to teach people what happens when you pull the brake too much, you should have done that, right? You should have taken your brakes, jammed it, and saw the impact of it. You should know how to recover a stall. You should be prepared to answer questions from students that are outside of your own experience. I don't know, maybe that's not the phrasing I'm looking for. Questions that students ask, you should broaden your experience so that you're able to answer them properly. That's what I think. I think that the industry standard in paramotor training is we have people teaching you how to throw a reserve who have never thrown a reserve, right? Imagine if that was the standard in quarterback training, right? I'm going to teach you how to throw a football. No, I've never done it myself, right? But this is how I imagine it would go. I think that standard would be a little low, right? That you should expect someone who teaches you how to throw a football to be pretty good at throwing a football, to have at least done it before, to have thrown a football, under pressure. But in the paramotor world, that's not the standard. As a matter of fact, I don't know very many instructors at all who've thrown a reserve. And I would like to see them go to an SIV course and give it a try. I'm going to talk about reasons why it's probably not common. Beautiful view, by the way. Anyway, I think that sometimes instructors don't want to take an SIV class for money, right? Which is I get that. it should be an investment that pays off, though, right? It should make them better at their jobs. It should make students feel better about the instruction that they're getting. Like, it should be the kind of thing that increases the reputation of your business, that raises it. And for that reason, even if you're losing a little time and spending some money on the training, it'll work for you. I think another possible reason that instructors don't do it is that, like, they worry that it would demote them in some way, right? You're an instructor in your local area. You're the cat's pajamas, right? You know, you can foot drag, you can do wing overs, and your students look at you in awe, and the people that you've trained think that you hung the moon. And if you were to admit that there is a higher authority, that your instructor has an instructor, then maybe you feel like you'd lose your position at the top of the totem pole. But that's a crazy idea. One, like I said, it should increase the reputation of your business. People should look at people who are well trained, and you could be like, and by the way, there's a solution. There's a solution. You could just come from the right lineage, right? Go to the Torrey Pines boys, or Brad, or Santa, and Brad Ganuccio, I'm saying. And you claim to be of their lineage. Yes, I was taught how to full stall by one of those three themselves, and you know, I am still the bee's knees when you look at me, and you can look at me with pride and know that now you are of that lineage too. Right? Pitch it that way. Nobody cares if your instructor has an instructor. That's okay, right? You know, like I used to do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there was a certain lineage, right? Like if you could trace it back to some Gracie or some world champion, like my instructor's instructor is, you know, UFC fighter or something like that, then, you know, then there's a certain pride. That's your lineage. And that can exist in paragliding too. Don't be ashamed to get training. Training is a great way to spend your time, and it'll make you better. And like I said, these are things that you should know if you're teaching. For me, I don't have enough altitude now. I'm going to sharpen the saw myself a bit too. So I've been working on the heli for over a year now. I guess I'm a slow learner. And the first thing you do is you really figure out how to get your tail slide dialed in, which is when you pull these brakes. Here, look at my wing, right? When I pull it, I don't know if you can tell, the back of it goes down. Well, in relation to the air, if you pull it enough, it stops being wing-shaped. And with a fabric flexible wing like this, it pretty dramatically like sort of falls backwards, and you start flying backwards. And if you manage it really well, the tips go forward and you're flying backwards, and it's mostly inflated, and it's cool. That's called a tail slide. It's also sometimes called a I always call it a tail slide. Oh, a back fly or a fly back. One of those is way more common than the other, so I call it a tail slide because I forget which one people like to hear. I think it's fly back, but I don't know. Anyway, there's another thing, and it's really tricky to do. It's called a parachutal stall. And basically, you're going down, almost straight down like you would under a parachute. If you look, camera probably won't capture it, but the bottom of the wing, the cells are no longer inflated. They're kind of pushed up, and that is the position that you want to be in before you start your heli. It's really difficult to be in that position. I would argue that if you can hold it for like, I've been told, if you can hold it for 10 seconds, you kind of graduated. You're very good at the deep stall if you can do it for 10 seconds. I've had a bunch of successful helis, but it's almost like, ooh, my deep stall is good right now. Let's get into it, right? Instead of my deep stall is good for this large window that I could enter the heli anytime I wanted to. So my friend, who's a bit of a mentor for me acro-wise, said, Woody, I want you to do 10 tail slides to deep stall, where I slowly let the brakes out, the wing tips go straighter and straighter and straighter, maybe even a little bent, but you know, mostly straight, and do that as an exercise to practice your deep stall. Now there's a part of me that's like, moi, I am a heli pilot. But the truth is, I'm not as good a heli pilot as I aspire to be, so I'm going to work on some fundamentals right now. I'm going to sharpen the saw. I don't think I'm going to do 10 in one flight, because it just seems demanding. But I'm going to get started on my 10, and hopefully it goes well. So first I want to be in my box. Trying to predict the best spot to be. There's like a light wind. I think this is about it, but pointed in the opposite direction. As often as I've done this, it still makes me nervous. I've done this hundreds of times. All right. Yeah, this should be it. So we're going to go into a tail slide and then ease it up to deep stall. No turning. Stop being silly. Stop. Oh, all right, deeper stall. Okay, get on axis. Deeper. Stop being twisty, you dick. Out to deep stall. Fly away. Oh. All right. Well, I spent some time at the limits, but that to me was sloppy. Altitude's too low to do another.
Future Woody, that camera died. Now we're using the knee cam. I drop into the stall. Things are nice. Things are pretty even. But as I slowly raise my hands, one side wants to fly. It expands, and the other side does, and the other side does, until it goes, look at the one, the right side, the left side, the right side, until it's going back and forth, and then it gets crazy. So it's hard to slowly go from tail slide to parachutal on this wing. I learned that. I do give it one more try. So this is my last try from that day. Again, I drop into the full stall completely and evenly, and things go pretty well. As I ease up, it does the same sort of thing where one side wants to go, the other side wants to go, and alternates. In a second now. See? It's going. It's tipping. It's wiggling back and forth on me. But this time I spot it as a helicopter opportunity, and I ride out the heli for a little bit. Nice. Go into tail slide, which is my safe favorite exit, and fly away. Cool. This is in Florida, a few weeks later. I'm not wearing a paramotor. I got towed up by a boat. I'm over the water. I've got a safety crew. It's the whole deal. But I just included it because it shows little of the progress that I've made doing parachutals. And it's not particularly flattering. I don't look great in it, but I'll show you. Watch what happens here. I go, and rather than get into the heli like super fast, I'm holding the parachutal for a little while. When I do try to go in the heli, I don't like it. I see the one tip starts to fold under. It's a mess. I retreat to full stall, which is a thing that acropilots need to do. It happens all the time. It happens every flight, a couple times a flight. And then from full stall, I find parachutal again, and I get a more proper heli. It's not the cleanest. Tips fold in a little here and there. And look how I'm sort of speeding up and slowing down to some extent. But it's a genuine heli. It's a thing. I'm heliing. That's heliing. And then I back out into the full stall like I always do. And not sure if I fly away on purpose or if I try to do it yet again. I fly away. Yeah. So I'll end the video here. That's sort of an update on where I am. And I thought it's almost 2 videos in one. There was the whole sharpening the saw thing. And then there was me going out doing drills, trying to get better at what it is that I like to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're still here, maybe I've earned your thumbs up or a comment. Let me know what you think. I hope you liked the video. I like making it.